So there are certain basics that you have to follow for every freelance project, whether it's on Fiverr or any other freelancing platform. I've listed some of them out here, and we're just going to dive into each one going forward from this lesson. So the first thing you have to know is, what does the client want? They either make this clear to you in a proposal, or they come to your gig and fill in those requests that you set. Sometimes they email you, they chat with you on social media. Other times they may decide to ask for a meeting. Now, when I say effectively communicate, I'm not really talking about your tone or what words you use. I'm talking about documenting exactly what they need. So instead of you getting on a phone call with them and them telling you what they want, you should have them write that out in an email so that you have it in written format. That way you can always refer back to it if there's any sort of misunderstanding or you forgot one of the deliverables. So when you first meet with a client, greet them and all of that, but make sure that they somehow give their needs in written format. Now that you know what their needs are, you have to send them a proposal telling them exactly how you're going to address those needs. So this is the place where you tell them about the timeline, the pricing, any sort of things that they need to know. Is there any copyright concerns, any license concerns, etc.? And you want to inform them about the way you conduct your business within this proposal. And then you would want to go back and forth if they're like, oh, you missed this part, I also want X, and you just fix up that proposal. Once the proposal is finalized, that goes in a contract. So within a contract, the main point of it is that the client accepts your proposal, they accept your pricing, they accept the deliverables that you promised them, and they just sign it. Once you sign a contract, you can't really go back on it unless you terminate it. So if something comes up, depending on the terms that you have in that contract, you want to make sure that your client is informed. We are going to look at some proposal and contract templates in a further lesson, but this is just the general order. All right, so up until step 3, that's the communication with you and the client. From step 4 onwards until I think this step, it's about how you start that project. So first of all, you want to list out the deliverables. If it's a website, you want to give them a pay portal, user management, maybe an e-commerce section, whatever it is that they asked for. List them out either on a project management platform or on a piece of paper, and try to see which one's the most important and which one takes the longest. And that way you would know that what you're working with exactly. Because if you put everything in one giant box, project X, it's really hard to approach it. And if you're not feeling that motivated on that day, it's going to be hard for you to even start it. And that can lead to you falling back on the deadline. Speaking of deadlines, now you want to set time for each of these deliverables. So section A of your project that takes the longest, you're going to allocate 5 days for it, and you're going to set a deadline of July 3rd. And having these little deadlines for yourself at the moment, it's going to make sure that you complete the project in little and attainable increments. Now, if you want to set milestones with the client, so if you've done part A of the project and you want to get paid for that part alone, not that you're canceling the project, but as we spoke, you're basically making sure that you and the client are on the same page and that you're going to get paid for that. That's going to come at the end. So if you're planning on setting milestones, if it's on Fiverr, they have their own thing. But if they don't want to do it on Fiverr, make sure you include the milestones in your proposal and have them sign the contract as well. So once you've done all these parts, say there were 3 parts of this huge project, you want to notify the client via email. Again, you want a written format, no text messages or phone calls. You want to make sure you have evidence of everything that's going on. So you want to notify them of your changes. If it's a website, you can give them the visitor login credentials for the staging website that you did. just a username and password. Have them go on there, give their feedback, and you can go on from there. If it's a graphic design work, you're sending them the JPEG exports, not the full thing, because you're not sure if that's what they want at the moment. If it's something written, you're going to send them the final draft. So there's different ways to do it. Definitely don't send them the full final work, because a lot of times they take it and they just ignore you, and that could be bad for your business. So once you've notified them via email, be sure to ask for feedback and give them a time frame. Have them list out all the things that they want fixed, and if there's nothing, then that's great. But once you have your feedbacks, you want to take them and notify them that how long it's going to take for you to implement those feedbacks. So if you're doing a website and they ask for a whole new page, first of all, we have to get that in writing, and then you have to tell them that, okay, this whole new page is going to take me another 2 days or so. So make sure you voice out this additional term so that they're aware. Once all the feedbacks has been implemented and both sides are happy, you can now go ahead and invoice. So Fiverr, if you get one of those paid services, has invoicing capabilities. If you don't want to pay them, you can go to this platform. It's free, and you get to create a really simple invoice over here. So this is what it looks like. You can put your logo in the corner, the client's billing address, the name, the currency. You can put your payment information down here. It's very flexible and it's easy and free until, I believe, 3 clients. So you can just, if you're dealing with one-time clients, you can just make that client account, delete it, make a new one, and that way you don't have to pay for anything. You can also go onto Canva or Adobe Express to make your own invoice template and just change the numbers every time. The problem with that is that you can't really see how much you've received, how much is pending, as there's no management for invoicing. Now that you've been paid and everyone's happy, it's time to take your work and put it on your portfolio or resume. And most importantly, get a review. A lot of people skip this step because it feels like it's awkward asking for people to provide a review on your account, say how well you did, if they liked you or not. But that is actually what gets you more clients in the future. So make sure you do that again via email, professional. Be like, it was great working with you. I would appreciate if you could leave me some ratings on my Fiverr profile or on my LinkedIn, wherever that you're working. You could also just get it as a text format and put it on your website. And you can just tell other future clients that there have been a history of happy clients. Okay, so those were the steps. Of course, depending on the industry that you're in, there may be some additional, or some of these can be skipped, but this is just some basics that you should know if you're starting to become a freelancer. Now, how do you manage your projects? There are tons of platforms out there that are very nice and interactive when it comes to managing deadlines, project notes, research, and all of that. And I'm going to share with you 4 of them today. Again, there's many out there, but these are just some that have been very popular in the industry. So I'm on it right now, the first one, and that's Notion. Notion not only lets you publish websites, it lets you have personal pages, work pages, different accounts. You can have teams if you're an agency, and there's just so much to this platform. So I'm just going to go to notion.so/gallery, and this is where you get templates. Now, the reason why we're here is because starting a Notion page from scratch for project management can take some time. So I think it's best to come up here and look for freelancer. And immediately we can see that we get tons of resources. So first is this dashboard. I'm going to open it in a new tab. Let's preview. So project, task, clients, invoices, active project, and you can change this to whatever industry you're in. Back here we have outreach sheet. So this is where you would reach out to potential clients with cold emails, and you can put them out here. It's good to keep track of all these communications that you do. Let's go back here. There is a contract as well. So Notion is something that you should definitely check out. If you're not familiar with it, they have a mobile and desktop app, so it's very convenient. Second thing is Monday.com. This one has also been pretty popular. It has an easy user interface, and like Notion, you can customize every part of it, look at different templates, and make sure that you get things done on time. We also have Trello. This is similar to Notion and Monday.com, but it does have the automations feature. So say you want to have an automation for when a project is done, it automatically emails maybe the next person in your team that you've finished your part of the project. So you can set that up. There's rules, buttons, email reports, and send feedback. Those are pretty cool, and this is something else that you can consider. Then we have open source project management. I came across this recently, but I haven't used it as much. However, I've heard that it's pretty good. These are some of the previews. So let's go back to search results and look for project management. So I just got this from the search results. You add it to your workspace and it duplicates it. So over here, you can list out all your projects if they're finished, ongoing, or to be done in the future. You can make groups and have them listed down below. Once you click on one of these, you can put your project name, the status, the people in there, if there is anyone, the completion, and your deadline. You can put a few of the information that you know. Perhaps you can put in the part of the email where the client is telling you what they want, and you can always come and look back at this. And these are the sections that I was talking about where you break down a huge project into smaller sections. So let's say section A, which is the most important, and you just make your way down from that. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is that you want to have the biggest, just have them in order from the biggest to the smallest, as the biggest parts are usually the foundation of the project. So for example, if it's a website that you're doing, the first thing you got to do is, get the host, get a domain, lay out the pages, the menus and all of that. So that takes the longest, but it's also the first thing that you would have to do before you put in this custom page that the client wants. So list them out like this, set out a due date, and you can put whether they're done or not, and change their status. You can add additional things down here if you want, such as photos and etc. And it's overall a very flexible platform. Now, when you go down here, you can take a look at the task that you have to do. So this is the one we made. This is another view if this is going in here is too much work. You can just scroll down and look at it here. You can put in calendars as well, I believe. There we go. So you can see what's due and what's up and coming. Now, when it comes to these projects, of course, having a dashboard is great, but setting realistic goals is another important thing. I know when you go on Fiverr, you see people make these gigs where they promise to deliver a huge project in like one day, and that may intimidate you and make you want to set that term for your own projects. However, I do not recommend that because a lot of the people on Fiverr actually use other tools to get the work done. Perhaps they have templates they've made before, and that speeds their process. And if you try to replicate that without having your own templates or additional tools to speed your work, you could get in a lot of trouble. Client communication is another lesson that we're going to do, but you definitely don't want to promise something that you cannot do as a freelancer. If the client is unhappy with your terms, they could accelerate the problem and just be a really big headache for you. If you're working within a team, having platforms like Slack, Google Workspace, Google Chat is also great, just because you can make different channels and things can be very organized. But if you're a solo freelancer, you can just depend on platforms like these. So now that we know how we can start our project management dashboard and what are the basics of freelancing, we can now move on to working with deadlines and how we can best utilize our time to deliver these projects in an orderly fashion.